This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 1609. The Coffee Machine That Can Pay for a University Education by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ORD for our weekly bonus episode. I'm Greg Audino, and this week's episode comes courtesy of Mr. Money Mustache. He's an extremely popular finance blogger, and as such, this post originally aired on Optimal Finance Daily, one of our sister shows, but I think you are really going to love it as well. So let's hear it narrated by our OFD host, Diana, as we optimize your life.
The Coffee Machine That Can Pay for a University Education by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com. Now that readers are starting to fantasize about getting a little bit of this early retirement action for themselves, Mr. Money Mustache is getting many questions about the typical expenses people imagine in their future. One of these is, how will I pay for the university education of my children? I must admit, even as the dad of a 5-year-old, I don't do much thinking about how I'll pay for his education. And I don't think you need to worry too much either. Why? Because once you grow your money mustache a bit, this will seem like a tiny amount of money to you. And as with every other expense in your life, it is in your control. How much does a college education cost? Some people get big spirals of fear in their eyes and cry out, $200,000. Yeah, in the worst case, if you pack your kid off to the most prestigious and expensive private university in the country, he never gets a job or scholarship and no financial aid, and you pay for all his rent, clothes, beer, tuition, and books. It is possible to spend this much or more on an education. But I just looked up some real numbers for my local University of Colorado at Boulder, apparently a pretty fine institution. In-state, out-of-district tuition is $6,446. Out-of-state tuition is $26,700. Fees are $1,486. And room and board is $10,378. What I see is $7,932 per year for tuition and fees. If your kid is like I was and is willing to pay for his own education with no loans and live at home with parents for free rent and food to achieve this, he can accomplish this with only 528 hours of paid work. That's 3 months at $15 an hour per year. In other words, working during the summer as a landscaper or painter already pays for your whole education debt-free. That's the minimum cost scenario. Now let's take the maximum cost, out-of-state tuition plus room and board, $148,000 for 4 years. But let's say you have a baby right now. You'd like to pay her way in full to Colorado University even though you live in another state, and you don't want her to ever have to work or to get any scholarships between now and graduation at her 21st birthday. No, you don't think this will make her grow up to be a spoiled brat with no work ethic, because look, she's just a cute little baby right now. You currently work, and you and your spouse both like the local Starbucks a bit too much. In fact, you each stop in at the drive-thru every day for a coffee and small treat on the way to work. You also stop in on the weekends too. In total, you average $7 each per day for fancy coffees and the occasional lunch here and there. You can probably guess how this adds up. This habit, compounded at 7%, adds up to about $148,000 over 17.5 years from your baby's birth until she starts university. So just switching to brewing good coffee at home, which I just calculated costs about 10 to 15 cents per cup if you buy your organic fair trade espresso roast in 2.5-pound bags from your local Costco, will pay for pretty much the whole worst case education. And as a Mr. Money Mustache reader, you will not be incurring a worst case education cost. Your kid will be a school whiz because you will have time to be home and read with her. She'll earn money throughout high school, perhaps even doing some advanced assistant work for your own part-time consulting career. And she'll probably have a money mustache of her own going by age 17. So she will find ways to spend less than the maximum possible amount on her own education. She'll graduate debt-free and be financially independent before she even has kids of her own at age 30. A permanent repeating family dynasty of happiness and wealth will be born. At this point, you'll invite Mr. Money Mustache out for a decadent sushi meal and thank him for changing your lives. You just listened to the post titled The Coffee Machine That Can Pay for a University Education by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com. You often hear daily coffee habits criticized in personal finance content, but I think it represents something much bigger than actual coffee. It's about analyzing our habits and actively seeking out more resourceful ways to get our needs met. Coffee is an easy example, as most of us aren't willing to give it up. It's something we do every day, and changing our habits around it are relatively painless. And when you connect this change to something you want more than Starbucks, like a college education for your child, the trade-off is absolutely worth it. I'd encourage you to look for other examples of daily spending that can be optimized and what that could mean for your financial goals. This article also reminds me that there are many resourceful ways of getting your needs met. When there is a will, there is often a way. The comments to this article were filled with stories of how people paid for their or their children's education without breaking the bank, starting with community colleges or focusing on in-state offerings over private schools, and applying for scholarships are just a few ways people are being resourceful about getting their educational needs met. And that's a wrap for the Sunday show. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new author and where your optimal life awaits.